Bonjour, bonsoir, dear friends. Welcome to JCB Live. Happy fall. This is the first day, and this is now a change of season. This is why we have a unique change of a beautiful room, our studio. Today is the day for a very unique guest. He came in person. Ladies, really hold yourself. He's extremely charming. And you're going to see why. And all of you friends, this is the example you want to follow of someone who fall in love with wine and who is in the tech world, but decided to invest a big portion of his spare time into wine and has become a wine authority. He's created even his wine company. We're going to talk about it. So I'm delighted on this first day of transitional season to bring Noel Burgess. Bonjour, Noel.
Bonjour. How you doing?
Well, now much better than we are on the couch. Together, enjoying. You need more LVE.
Yes, please.
Look at what we're drinking.
Ooh. Perfect. Pink, I'm matching.
And have you heard of John Legend?
Of course. Of course.
Hello, John. Are you with us?
I have better dimples, but good to meet you.
So we make this wine with John, and we're so excited. This is his month concerts, in California. So we're featuring his fantastic wine with all the things we're doing. And this is a South of France wine that he decided to make with us in
That's right.
the South of France.
It's delicious.
This is, what do you think of the wine? Yeah, because you're the wine experts.
No, you're the wine expert. No, I love this sparkling rosé. I haven't had it yet. I have a few of his brands at home, but this is the first time I'm having this one. Is this new?
Brand new.
Okay.
And this is a French sparkling rosé made from overall France, so Grenache, Syrah, Mourvèdre, a little bit of Cinsault as well, made as a rosé. I'm a big fan.
Well, can I get a bottle before we leave?
Oh, you will get a bottle before you go.
Okay.
Of course. So, Noel, you moved from the East Coast to the West. Why?
I did. So, grew up in Connecticut. 6 years ago, I received an offer from a major tech company to move out to California. I had my options of Austin, San Francisco, or New York City. So I decided to take my talents to the Bay Area, and I've been here ever since.
Wow. And your fabulous wife, who I love, she's adorable. We spent an amazing dinner.
She loves you already.
Together.
Yeah.
Well, that was a fun night.
Yeah, it was.
Ooh la la, dear friends. We drank bubble a lot that night.
Yeah, too much bubble. But
and she's enjoying California as well.
Absolutely. It was mostly her decision. When I broke it down to her and where I was thinking about moving to, she was like, San Francisco for sure. So we moved out here, and now she's a professor at Sonoma State.
Which is great.
Yeah.
So how does an HR man get and fall in love with wine? With all your HR issues, you have a glass of wine?
Several glasses of wine, maybe several bottles of wine. For me, it was just, when in Rome. You're out in California. I was a big spirits person. Even when I was younger, I really wasn't into beer. It was more about a nice cocktail, a scotch, a whiskey. And, I'm living in wine country now, and I was like, well, you should probably get into this. So I would say maybe 4 or 5 years ago was really when I stepped on, the scene of the first winery, and then I was hooked. That was it. In Sonoma, and it was a ball game.
So explain to all our friends around the world, how do we get hooked on wine? After many years, as you said, of spirits, enjoyment, and other beverages, that was your epiphany moment.
When the epiphany happened. So beyond just the taste of it, there's a lot of things that taste great. For me, it's always about the experience, right?
Yeah.
So I remember going to a winery, seeing diverse set of people, old, young, black, white, rich, famous, whatever it was.
Yep.
And having those conversations with individuals that I've never met before over a glass of wine, that table fellowship, so to speak. And just, I remember just looking around the beautiful scenery in Sonoma and Napa. And for me, I was just hooked. This was something to me that I wanted to be a part of. and I get to meet interesting people we probably have never met if I hadn't done that.
That's right. Well, he works for a major tech. We cannot say who that is, but you all have heard of it. You all use the products, and it's not that often. We have a lot of people who move to the wine world as collectors or consumers, but you decided to start a business in the wine world as well. So tell us about that.
Absolutely. So my mother is, people think I'm colorful. She's extremely colorful. We'll be nice today. And I told her that I was into wine, and she said, like, oh, you're a grapester now. Oh, you're a wino. And hence Wino Experience started. And it really started.
It always starts with a mother.
It really does. I'll have to tell you offline some of the other nicknames she had for me, but I don't think they're canon.
Well, maybe you want to share one or two. You're getting us tempted.
So one is Big Head, because I always joke with people about my head has been the same size for 40 years, and it's actually kind of true. Like I've worn out a lot of pillows. Turtlenecks are not my friend because my head's always been oversized. So she still calls me Big Head.
Well, because there's a big brain in there too.
That's a good save.
A good save. There's a lot in there.
And you say I'm charming. So I
know this man well, dear friend. There's a lot of neurons up here.
Yeah, we'll have to talk about that after this glass of wine. And so Wino Experience started, and it was really about the diversity and inclusion that I wanted to see in wine. Not to turn into, something negative, but I remember going to a few wineries and, having a bad experience because of the way I looked, or they thought my socioeconomic status was a little different than what they expected to buy, their most expensive wine. And in the HR world, one of the things I focus on is diversity. And and especially at the time, not knowing a lot about wine and the experience, it was just interesting to me that with all the varietals that you have and variety you have in wine, it's not reflected in the consumer base, or it's not reflected in the business side. When you look at winemakers, there's not enough women, there's not enough African Americans. And I was like, well, how can I meld my two loves, my old love in HR and diversity, and now my new love in wine? How do I bring those together and try to highlight more interesting people like yourself, more winemakers, tasting room managers, vineyard masters, people that you don't see, and that's the business side, and then get individuals that have never had a glass of wine. How do we get them more involved? Because one of the things I talk about with winemakers a lot is, even if you have challenges with the morality part of it, I try to focus in on you're in business to make money, right? Like, you love wine, but if you're a for-profit business, you're here to make money. And you're missing out on trillions of dollars of individuals that would love to patronize your product, but you don't advertise them and you don't make them feel comfortable. So how can we find a way to bridge that gap?
That's absolutely critical. And I'm so glad you touched on diversity, because there's a wine we actually created. And we've been thrilled at the turn of COVID. We've done a lot of things with John Legend, of course. We've done a lot of things as a company with an enormous diverse team, from all our ambassadors, from ladies to, all skin colors, all religion. Everybody's welcome at the table, and we love that. And we wanted to go further as the beginning of COVID, as so many sommeliers, an example, were left out. So we did a big program with them, and a big program as well with the African American Association of Winemakers. And this wine, can you imagine, thanks to the energy of everyone, has raised over $250,000.
Wow.
And look at this label. It's called Unity. Everybody
this.
buys it, and we donate a significant amount of a significant amount of the sales of the wine towards the causes, because we want to make a difference to you. So can you touch on a very important topic you just mentioned? You felt you didn't look the par. What does that mean in terms, and how can they improve that?
In my opinion, the demographic of the wine world is older, richer, and whiter. And there's nothing wrong with that. And I remember walking into a couple of wineries, and I think we've all been there, where we've gotten that look, that up and down look, or just kind of like you feel the vibe of do I belong
Do I
here?
belong there? Yeah.
I still make this joke about, there's certain places where if you don't show up in a 3-piece suit and a top hat, you feel out of place. and and I remember going to a winery, which I won't name, and it was very uncomfortable. The service was not great. They made assumptions about my wine knowledge. I remember them offering me their cheapest wine to bring home. And I'm just thinking to myself, like, you're missing out on someone that is in love with this experience and wants to patronize your business and learn more. And I was just completely turned off. And I remember not going back to a winery for a good year.
Wow.
Because I was so upset about the experience. It took some in-laws of mine to bring me to a winery and say, hey, we're coming out. We're members. Do you want to go here? And I'm like, all right, I haven't seen you guys, but it took a good year for me.
What had seen the in-laws? When do you say no to the in-laws?
Yeah,
right?
you don't say no to the in-laws. And, you want...
Well, no. But I don't want you to feel like you have to hold it, even though it's like a baby.
No.
I hold it every day. I'm so in love with it.
I love the bottle design. So,
thank you. So you went there and...
Yeah, so I went there and I kind of got my passion back for like, okay, you had a bad experience, you need to get over it, and let's go back and let's try this again. So for me, it was just like, how do I take a negative and turn it into a positive? And it was really just about sharing my experience with other individuals and making sure that they don't run into the same obstacles that I did. So, through my Instagram, that started, during COVID. It was probably really a passion, a labor of love, but also to save my marriage, because for an extrovert, you can imagine the worst thing you can do to them is put them in 1,000 square foot box with nowhere to go. And that really was the experience. So where else was there to go besides wine country? You were outside in California. Yeah. You didn't have to really worry about the COVID scare. So I was like, let me find something else to do. And that's really how, at the time, Wino Experience started, to really just highlight those issues that I wanted to talk about and just bring more people into wine.
This is brilliant. So, dear friends, this is how, for you,
thank you.
We turn, and I want to have a toast for you.
Thank you very much.
On this one, maybe both ways.
With my favorite. I'm so glad you made that wine a cab. I love Napa cabs.
Oh, thank you. Well, this is how you turned an amazing, difficult time into an opportunity. So, how was it to start your business?
Oh, God. So again, I joke, as we've talked about.
Because you still work full time in
I do.
HR and technology too, so double.
Yeah, it's interesting. We could talk more about that. I started last March 2020 with, I joke about it, like -5 followers. Like I had no followers. It was sad. In my little blog where there were 3 readers, my mother and my wife were 2, and I was the other one. And people ask me all the time, like, how did you grow so fast? And I was just like, I really don't have the answer. I was just me, and I just literally got out there and said, like, I know very little about wine. Red goes with meat, dark meat, or, red meat, and then white goes with fish. And, like, that was really all the knowledge I had. I didn't know about varietals or varieties, like any of it. And I just took people through my journey. I was honest about the places that I've been that I love, the places that I didn't like so much, or where they can improve. I tried to make it fun, but also educational. And that's something that I do in HR. Like, you can't just come at someone with all this serious knowledge all the time. Like, it has to be fun and entertaining, and then you can slip in like the underlying message, right?
That's it.
And for me, it was about inclusion and about diversity and how wineries can just, again, bring more people in and not be so exclusionary, excuse me. So that was really how it started. And, I blinked, and next thing you know, I had 5,000 followers. And,
wow.
And then, I blinked again, and there were some major individuals in the wine industry. I'll call her out, because I know she doesn't mind. Julia Coney reached out after we were on a Clubhouse chat together and said, like, hey, like, I've seen some of your blog articles. And we all know that moment, like, the record scratches, and you're like, I'm sorry, what? Like, do you know who you are that you're looking at my little blog with, like, at that point, maybe 10 readers? And she said, we need more diverse people writing about wine.
Absolutely.
And at the time, it was like, my blog supplemented my Instagram. Like, if I came and visited Raymond, it was like, all right, let me tell you about the experience. It's a quick 5-minute blog article and you're done. I never contemplated writing professionally for like major wine. It just never entered my mind. And I just honestly didn't think I had time.
Yeah.
And you fast forward a couple of months, and my first article in Vine Pair came out about Graciano Winery in Healdsburg, and then I was off, and that was it.
That's amazing. Today,
Yeah.
how many followers?
Oh God,
55,000, 60,000?
I think it's I don't you know.
Or more,
This,
maybe.
now this is gonna sound a little like I don't even really check anymore. Like you know how sometimes you just get to the point where do you need to check? It really, and this is a bit corny. I just try to focus in on my message
Yes.
and what I'm doing and stay in that moment. I'm not gonna lie. Like every couple of weeks, I'll look and be like, oh, I'm up to 56,000, or I'm up to 60,000. But most of the time, it's really who am I with?
Yes.
What am I experiencing? How do I feel? And how do I move my message forward?
So, which is amazing. So, how did it change your life, obviously? It shifted dramatically. And his fabulous wife is very admirative because I asked her the question at dinner. And I said, how do you feel about this? I mean, this is something new. Mm-hmm. Luckily, she's as well a professor. So she's very much into education and great content, which we had a great discussion on that together. So how did it change your life out of a tough moment, following your dreams in many ways, following your passion?
It took, my passion and love for people and diversity in a direction I didn't think it was going to take. Personal life is one aspect. My professional life and HR is another. And now with wine, I felt like it opened it up internationally in a way to individuals that I don't think I could have connected with. Like I said before, I don't think you and I would have ever met if it wasn't for this. The opportunities to learn more about wine and really feed my passion for knowledge and education was another thing, besides just the taste of wine. And then just really a feel that it's a challenge because I don't know a lot. Like I've been in HR for over a decade now, and obviously we've all interacted with people all our lives. So it's challenging, but it can become old hat. And now I'm in this field where I'm not the most experienced person in the room. I still have so much to learn about the technical aspects of wine. I just hope that my passion comes through and pushing diversity comes through, so when I interact with people, they understand like where I'm coming from. But the learning process is just not gonna end. So I hope I have more opportunities to meet great people, and just to make sure that wine is becoming more inclusive.
Well, so on diversity, inclusivity.
Yeah.
Tell us more about within your world as your followers. How did you succeed as well to embrace and to bring much more people, and how is it working for you?
So, having even still now a lay opinion and knowledge of wine, I was just honest and transparent.
Yeah.
And that's really how I interact in my personal life and in HR. Like I want to be direct about what I know, about what I don't know, and hopefully people will relate to that and come along for the journey, at least see my point of view, even if they don't agree. Yeah. So I remember just like, being somewhat embarrassed what I just mentioned about like not knowing what you pair with what, or not knowing, the difference between a variety and a varietal. Like I was like,
which has all happened to us.
Really. Like I have no idea. Or someone mentioned your name and I'm just kind of like, who's that? And now I'm like, I know who you are.
Well, luckily we've met. And I danced with his wife, dear friends.
Yeah, okay, we'll talk about that later. It was a little too long. Like it went like 5 seconds too long where I felt, but anyway, I digress. So, I think that was something, and because I feel like your average consumer, or especially a person that doesn't know much about wine, can relate more to where I was and still am versus the wine expert that uses a lot of pretentious language or language that's technical and important. I'm not saying dumb it down, but it's hard for someone when you say something like forest floor, or you start talking about the technicality of wine, and it just goes over people's head and it makes them feel like, are you talking down? Like, do you want me to drink your wine, or do you want me to grab my dictionary and look up what that means? And I think that's hard for people sometimes, right? Like you don't want to go someplace where you're spending, and we both know, sometimes anywhere from $50 to $200 for a tasting, right?
Yeah.
And then be talked down to and embarrassed when you don't know something. No one wants to do that, especially when they're spending their own money that they may or may not have a lot of. So I think for me, it's just using common language, meeting people where they are, and then build upon that. My wine knowledge, and even in the last 6 months, is far beyond where I was last year.
That's so cool.
And that's only because of patient and thoughtful individuals like yourself that were like, okay, this is where you are. Let's find some common ground and let's build upon that.
So, not on diversity now. You always have cool shoes. I've seen you many times now. Every time, dear friends.
Here we go.
And I know we go to Zoom on those amazing Nike, which reminds me of the 80s. I love it.
Oh my God.
Maybe you were not even born in the 80s.
I'm a child of the 80s. Like literally the earliest part of 1980 that you possibly can be. So
that's the coolest pair. I remember trying to buy one of those, but we couldn't find them in France. They were so popular on TV.
So do I need to get you a pair?
Well, maybe I fit in yours.
No, I don't,
you
I
have
don't
big
know.
shoes to fill.
I don't know. These are
big shoes, big head.
Here we go.
Here
we go. Here we go.
Beautiful hair. That's what I'm trying to
see.
do.
We're not going to play this game. So everybody, you guys have seen the outfits he wear. Like, I want to go shopping with him. The shoes, the socks.
Well, the socks, it's easy. I'm going to give you a pair. It's the JCB socks.
Red or pink?
Red.
Okay.
Well, we do pink for Breast Cancer Month.
Okay.
As well, and in full support of that, we have purple.
Okay.
Because we believe that the Pope should be challenged sometimes.
That's right.
And he only wears purple socks, so why not? And what about the bracelet? Are you into Buddhism, or is it representative of any specific spiritual thoughts?
So a friend of mine that's very much into the environment, gave me this bracelet where it was made out of. I forgot the stones it was made out of, but I know it's literally homemade from the earth. So
very cool.
Yeah, so I wear this, quite a bit. Just a way of just being conscious of the environment and trying to give back. And I know when she bought this, it donates, I think it's something like 70-80% of the proceeds to sustainability. So that's why I wear it.
Very cool.
I can find out the name. It's been a while. It's been a couple of years.
Looks very good. So now, how are you perceived in your world of tech? Have you become the wine experts in the tech world?
So I just got off a trip, a 3-day media trip in Lodi, and I posted a video of me punching down in
someone or
it was me.
Were you punching someone in the ring or just in a vat?
I'm built for comfort. I'm not really built for like that kind of stuff.
Well,
so,
you would be a good boxer.
Probably.
You have the heights. You see him sitting. He's around 6'4", just to let you know.
No, I'm like 6, 3.5.
Well, but there's 2 inches of hair right
Here we go. And and they, it's like Noel's a wine guy now, so. It's interesting. I'll be serious for a hot minute, but wines are connected, right? So individuals across the tech company I work for that, again, I would never have the opportunity to speak to, have seen things on Instagram, have seen articles, and all of a sudden, this corporate vice president or executive vice president is putting time on your calendar. So all of a sudden, I'm nervous. I'm just like, oh shit, am I about to get fired? Like, why are you putting time on my calendar? And it's like, hey, Noel, like, we saw your article, and it was just like, oh, okay, I know you read, but I was like, you're reading this. And it's just like, and all of a sudden, like, we've connected. It's like, hey, when we visit the Bay Area office, like, we would love to go wine tasting. Do you know any places, or do you have favorite places? And I'm like, absolutely. And then I'll throw in the joke like, hey, like, you're an executive vice president. Like, I know how much you're making, so you're going to pay for this experience, right? But it does bring us together. And, like, again, there are experiences that I don't know if I would have in the same kind of timeline if it wasn't for this. Like, wine literally in these cases brought them together. And they're so understanding about when these things come up, because I try to go into projects that are passions of mine. So when I ask for time off, they're just like, Noel, you handle your business, just like go do it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Very cool. So people have respected a lot what you've done, even though it's a totally different field. We're talking tech and wine.
True.
I mean, we use a lot of your tech in our wine because we need it. But I see what you mean. Now, what is your passion besides wine?
God, big question.
People, I guess.
Yeah, people for sure. I think I have a sense of equality and justice. Like, I want to see people do well. Life, and again, I'm not trying to get on this soapbox, but, life is hard, and bad things happen to good people all the time. So I feel when good things happen to good people, we should celebrate that more. We should embrace that a lot more, and that's definitely a passion of mine. I tend to
Well said.
root for the underdog. I think it's in part why I got into HR, because things happen, in a profession. I would argue that out of all the important things in life, how you gain your resources, what you do with your life as far as a career, is always going to be a top 3 to 5 choice. And to be able to walk people through that, whether it's the entry point coming into a corporation, or it's how do I navigate that, or even in some cases, how do I exit that, I want to be that trusted advisor that you call me and say, Noel, here's my scenario. What are your thoughts on how to best handle it? And sometimes it's asking questions. Sometimes, it's just listening. You and I are both married. So, sometimes it's just, you just listen, right? And sometimes it's actually
You mean you listen to your wife?
Yeah, I have no choice.
You do? I've noticed that.
The thing about PhDs is they never really stop talking. So, so even though 99% of the time it's always something important, but I am actually a good listener, which it helps.
I've noticed
with the role that I'm in, so I'm able to give the best advice possible. But I think that's really a passion of mine. And then just food, traveling.
Yes.
Love music, big music buff.
So John Legend, LVE.
Yeah.
Isn't he the best?
Yeah, I love John Legend. I took my mother before COVID. He was in Oakland doing his Christmas special.
Yeah, absolutely.
And took her there. It was an interesting experience. It's something about when your 70-plus-year-old mother is like, hey, I'm going to throw my underwear up on stage. It was just one of those moments where it was just like, okay.
Well, you're lucky she wears some.
Yeah. When she sees it, I'm going to be I can't come home for Christmas now. Thanks a lot. But I
well, you come and see us.
Please, because I can't come home now. Cheers.
Maybe we'll go with John.
Yeah, seriously, if he'll have us.
Well, talking about John and wine, because wine is your expertise, what would be your message to this Napa Cab to John? Because, frankly, between Stephanie Putnam, Thane Knudsen, John Legend and I, this is a wine we craft together. This is the triangle.
Really?
Yeah, he is very involved into making this Napa Cab.
Okay.
This is
I didn't know
LVE.
that.
Yeah, with his really transformative, beautiful vision of Cabernet. So, dear friends, we're having the 2016 vintage. And what do you think of this wine?
Well, now I like it even better because, again, I have more of context around that, which is important for me, right? It helps color my vision. I'm a visual person, so now that I can see that John's involved, it went up a little bit, but I know it's a bias. I think for me...
Well, we all are, the subconscious.
Yeah, but I like the messaging. For sure, I think this is good body. I like the balanced tannins in this, excuse me. Tells you I've been drinking too much.
We just started.
I might have a couple drinks beforehand. I get a little camera shy occasionally.
Oh, really?
Sometimes. But no, this is great. I'm enjoying this.
Isn't it great?
Yeah. What are your thoughts?
Well, I'm bullish because I think what has been great as a relationship, and this is why we've done it, and if John, you're watching, congratulations, because he added another dimension, which is different than Raymond, different than JCB, different than Buena Vista, different than Secret Indulgence. The whole idea is always to make different wines that brings different emotion. And I think that's a very inspirational wine. Wine with a lot of richness, a lot of intensity, a lot of body, a lot of message, which are very melodic in the glass. And I think that's a different style than Raymond. And that's why I thought 1 + 1 = 10. Always good in math, 1 + 1 = 10. I'm in love with it, and I love the fact that John and all of us make it together and so influential in it.
And it shows, there's so many different types of diversity, right? I think we tend to go towards race and gender, but as you just said, the wine is very different than Raymond, right? All that is adding another aspect to your portfolio that a lot of people won't do. We both know that there are some brands, and it's not a knock, that stay very formulaic on where they are. I'm not going to even say you took a chance. You did something different that's outside of your current life.
Thank you.
And that, to me, that's diversity.
And talking about diversity and unity and equality and, embracing of the culture or the skin colors or the religion or the accents, because, we all judgmental. And a lot of people say, oh, you have an accent, oh, you French, or you this, or you that, I hear all the time. Where are we in the world today, and do you feel we've made some fair progress?
we've made progress. I don't want to say that we haven't. I'm in my 40s, so I have a little bit of perspective on how things were in the 80s, 90s, 2000s, where we are now. In my parents' generation, would I be sitting here right now? Mm-hmm. That's a real question. The profession and the formal education I was able to attain, I don't know if I would have those opportunities 50, 60 years ago. So, I for sure think that things have gotten better, but, it's not a fixed mindset. We still have a ways to go.
For sure.
For many different demographics, right? Socioeconomic, religion, still very much with, gender and race. Just in the wine world, what is it in California? Is it 13% of the winemakers are women? Not even close to being African American.
And a lot of them are with us.
Are they?
Well, we have a lot of women as winemakers in our team, for sure. We have globally more women than men.
Which is a good thing.
Well, and we've always thought, that women have that genuine sensory talent. They listen, they feel, they sense, they vibrate the energy of taste and flavor in another dimension than we do. And it doesn't mean that it's always better, it's just different. And it's, for us, very sophisticated and refined, and it works very well. Not only in the winemaking, but as well in wine presentation and wine communication. Women have an enormous talent.
No, I absolutely agree. And it's just a different perspective that, to me, changes the vision and the taste, obviously, of wine, is having more individuals in it. It just makes it better. There's so many different grapes and experiences you can have. It's hard when you have one demographic that's by far dominating the industry versus, as you said, bringing more women, LGBTQ,
for sure,
different parts of the country, different regions, different generations. I have this conversation all the time about, it's funny, we're drinking cabs, and I'll talk to, millennials or younger, like in their early 20s, and like, they can't imagine buying a wine and having to store it for 5 or 10 years. They're like, I want to drink it in 5 or 10 minutes.
That's right.
Why don't more winemakers make wine for me? And, we all know the thing about cab is, I won't go into it, but I think even thinking about ageism is such a big thing in wine. Mm-hmm. Going to the consumer and figuring out what you like.
That's right. So in your business, or in your life, what's your dream now?
I think the easy answer is to remain curious, to try to stay positive, and even with the negative things that happen to all of us in life, use that to fuel other parts of my life, to make things better for individuals, to be happy, and then just to make sure that I'm doing my part to pay forward in the world all the knowledge I've attained, I would say, in 40 years. Somewhat knowledge.
Very good. If you would have been born, not in the 80s, but in the previous centuries, who would you have liked to be?
God, now you're really putting it on the spot. I think...
I know you know.
Yeah.
We all know that answer, if we want to be honest.
I have a few answers. The quick one is a relative. So for me, it would be my great-grandmother, great-grandfather, just really setting the stage for my family for the next 150 to 200 years.
Well said.
To literally struggle and not have a life, knowing that your generations after you are going to have a better life because of things that you set up. That would be an interesting conversation to have, of just like seeing African Americans. And a big part of my family is Jamaican. So seeing the difference going back 100 to 200 years. And then I think for someone famous, God, there's so many.
But that's a very cool answer, the one you just made. They're watching, as you know, your great-grandparents, and they're very proud of you by what you've done. And of course, by recognizing the fact that you're recognizing them.
Yeah.
That's a big deal.
No.
Thank you for doing that.
I appreciate that. Knowing your history, I think, is important, like moving forward and the struggles that came before. Even my living history with my parents, to see what they went through and how I was able to stand on their shoulders to get what I want now, I can't beat that.
That's right. Now, what do you wish will happen to you in the next 5 to 10 years? How do you see in your crystal ball, or you would like to see the next 5 to 10 years?
Got it. You come with the
and
hard,
I asked this question, dear friends, as a twist on the previous questions because, you know, it's pretty exciting. You were not in the wine world a year ago.
I was not.
And now Noel, you know, is with us and has been with us multiple times now, which is so cool. And I'm so grateful that you are. So what would you like to see happen?
In the wine world, my wish for myself or just in general?
Both, maybe.
I would like to see in the wine world, I know I've said this a lot, just more opportunities for diverse voices and people in all facets, whether it's back of house, front of house, winemakers, tasting room managers, sales individuals, PR, marketing, whatever it is, more opportunities, not only in the US, but worldwide. I would love to see everyone enjoy wine as much as you and I and have the opportunity to do that. As far as myself, just having a bigger platform to tell the stories of other individuals so it gets out to more people. That's really, I think the writing helps, Instagram for sure helps, but I would love to see that grow and bring more people in and start interviewing them as you're interviewing me and getting their stories out. That's why I'm so appreciative of you having me on your platform, because now I'm able to reach more people.
For sure.
That hopefully together both of us can bring them along to where we are.
That's the idea. I think it's going to be great and we're thrilled. Now the big questions, dear friends.
I'm scared. I need to sit up straight for this.
The big question. You see how much taller he is. I'm going to go lower.
All right. I'm going to sit up classroom style.
Hey, how does it feel, by the way, to be the first ever on the
This is, couch? You know, again, I'm really honored because you trusted me enough to make me your guinea pig for this spot. So I know I was all ready for downstairs and the gold, and then I come up here and I see this red couch, and I just honestly I'm in love.
Well, we wanted comfort. And we wanted romance. Did you see Romeo and Juliet kissing? It's a beautiful carving, huh?
This reminds me of like my wife and you dancing. It was just a little bit too close, and now, so I don't know how to feel about that.
Well, I don't remember our lips being that close.
I don't know.
But if you insist, we could certainly practice for you.
That's not going to happen. You're going to get me in trouble. No.
She's a professor. I have a lot to learn.
Yeah.
I could be a good student once in a while.
I bet. We're not going there.
So let's go to the big message.
Okay.
You know, to the world. As you know, you do an amazing job in the big tech firm.
Thank you.
That we won't mention. I mean, in HR, which is really one of the most important things ever, is how to guide people and listening and advising and recommending and creating a path for many others. You're doing an amazing job in the wine world, and out of nowhere, frankly, and bang, here you are.
It's scary.
So a lot of our friends from all around the world sometimes wonder, what shall I do? I've been doing this. How do I take a jump and a leap of faith and whatever? So what's your message?
Find your passion, find your audience, and interact with them, and build upon it. I don't think, how do I put this? I'm honored that I was able to move as fast as I did. Talking to peers and people that have been in the business longer than I have, they're like, wow, like we've never seen anything like that. I really don't think I'm special. I just think I stuck to what made sense for me, engaging my audience and saying like, does this work or it doesn't? And then just being authentic. All the warts where I was like, I look completely ridiculous saying something, it's okay. People don't want to see perfection, right? They want to see how the sausage is made a lot of the time, right? They just don't want to see the end product. So for me, that was just important. And then being transparent about what you don't know. Like I have really great mentors and people that actually have a vested interest in me. And when I say vested, you know, it's not really even an elephant in the room. I'm an African-American individual, and I think with now this big push in society about diversity, the easy thing to do is put this person front and center when you really don't care about that individual or their story. It's the easy thing to do because of marketing. And for me, the mentors and people that I've interacted with, there's a genuine care and feeling about that. When we talked about how you give back to charities and you're invested in the schools, that's not a trick. That's who you are.
That's right.
And that came across.
Thank you.
Like very easily, and we had follow-up conversation about that. And I'm like, okay, this is the real deal. This is not you parading me in front because you want to show off diversity. So I think for me, it was just having people that you should probably zig this way versus that way. Let's bring you along slowly. Here are some opportunities. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for that. I wouldn't continue to grow if it wasn't for shows and individuals like this. I couldn't do it alone.
Well, dear friends, it's so well said. And as none of us will ever reach perfection, let's keep striving for it, as you said. So
absolutely.
Let's have a toast.
Yes, sir.
First day on the couch in our studio.
Yes.
And Dylan has zoomed so nicely on you. Did you see?
Oh, boy.
He's done a great job. Ay, ay, ay. Dear friends, cheers. Back soon on the studio to Noel.
All right. Thank you, sir. Can't wait to come back.
Anytime.
All right. On the red couch. Ready for it.